In the beginning, a man is seen walking into the woods with his two children, Hansel and Gretel. At first, it seems like a normal walk, but something feels off. The kids look terrified, their faces filled with fear. The man keeps leading them deeper into the dark forest. Then, he suddenly stops, turns around, and leaves them there alone. As they wander through the forest, the brother and sister come across something strange, a house made of gingerbread. With no other choice, they decide to go inside. But as soon as they enter, a witch appears. She captures them, locking Hansel in a cage and forcing Gretel to work as her servant. Over time, Gretel figures out the witch's intentions. She plans to cook Hansel for dinner. When the witch ignites the oven and opens it, her plan becomes clear. However, before the witch can proceed, Gretel seizes the moment. She injures the witch with a dagger, ending her reign of terror. With the witch defeated, Gretel rescues Hansel, and the siblings are finally free. Nonetheless, the witch defeats and pursues the children once more. This time, Hansel, upon seeing the witch approaching again, pushes her into the oven. The witch burns to death, and the brother and sister escape without any injuries. The tale of their victory over the evil witch spreads throughout the village. The two siblings decide to dedicate their lives to hunting witches, earning the nickname Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Fast forward several years, the story shifts to a village under the control of witches. Several children and villagers have gone missing and are never seen again. A police officer suspects that one of the local girls is a witch and orders her to be put to death. Fortunately, Hansel and Gretel arrive in the village just in time to stop him, as the girl is innocent. The mayor orders the siblings to stay in the village and lead the investigation. He assigns them to investigate an old hut in the forest. At the hut, the siblings encounter a mysterious and terrifying witch. The witch attacks Gretel but tries to escape when Hansel fights back. After a brutal battle, the siblings manage to capture her. However, the witch refuses to reveal any information about the missing people. Instead, they discover a map in her possession, pointing to a lunar eclipse in 3 days, a critical time for the witches. Hansel suspects that the witches are behind the disappearances. The mayor offers a reward to rescue the missing villagers and children and assigns a local man who knows the forest well to assist them. Meanwhile, the police officer remains distrustful of Hansel and Gretel and continues to interfere in their efforts. The siblings and their team venture into the forest, where a mysterious woman warns them of impending danger. She reveals herself as the Grand Witch, the most powerful of all witches, and unleashes her dark powers, killing the hunters one by one. Only Hansel, Gretel, and their guide survive. The guide warns them about a massive giant loyal to the witches. As they plan their next move, a young admirer approaches, eager to join them, but Hansel warns him of the peril involved. Meanwhile, the missing children are imprisoned in an underground cellar guarded by the witch's giant. The Grand Witch sacrifices a child in a failed attempt to complete a dark ritual for ultimate power. While hunting, the siblings lure a witch into a trap, capturing and interrogating her in the village. She reveals that the witches need one more child to complete their ritual. If successful, their magic will make them unstoppable, and the final child is to be taken that night. Before the siblings can act, the Grand Witch attacks the village, hurling fireballs and causing chaos. Gretel and the guide try to stop her, but the Grand Witch is incredibly powerful. She captures Gretel and begins to kill her, but the guide intervenes, shooting at the witch. However, the Grand Witch uses dark magic to force him to turn the gun on himself. He tragically takes his own life. A boy rushes in, saving Gretel and taking her to safety. Elsewhere, a girl rescued by a boy thanks him, but continues searching for her missing brother. Hansel, nearly falling from a tree, is saved by the same girl he had previously defended from witchcraft accusations. While searching for Hansel, Gretel encounters the officer and his men. Though she shoots the officer, she is captured. Just as the officer prepares to kill her, the witch's giant intervenes, smashing the officer and his men. The injured Gretel is taken by the giant and healed with herbal medicine. Realizing the giant means no harm, she departs after recovering. Later that night, Hansel discovers a house in the forest where he finds Gretel, alive and well. They are shocked to realize it is their childhood home, where their father had abandoned them. The Grand Witch appears, revealing their tragic past. Years ago, their mother, a white witch, married a human farmer, angering the Grand Witch. She exposed their mother's identity, leading to her death at the hands of villagers. Their father, manipulated by the Grand Witch, left them in the woods to protect them and was later executed. The Grand Witch reveals that Gretel's heart, as the child of a white witch, is crucial for completing her ritual. Hansel and Gretel fight back, but are overpowered. The Grand Witch stabs Hansel and abducts Gretel. Hansel awakens with the girl who previously saved him, who reveals herself as a benevolent white witch. Together, with a young boy eager to help, they prepare to rescue Gretel and stop the Grand Witch. As night falls, they reach the witches' gathering. Under the blood moon, the Grand Witch is ready to complete the ritual. All 12 children, including Gretel, are present, and the dark magic is about to begin. Hansel and his team set a trap to ambush the witches. He gives the White Witch a gun and asks her to stay back. When Hansel confronts the Grand Witch, she orders another witch to stop him. Hansel kills the attacking witch with his gun, while the White Witch starts shooting at the others. Chaos erupts as the frightened witches scatter. However, the White Witch's Gatling gun jams, leaving her vulnerable. Meanwhile, the Grand Witch advances toward Gretel to kill her, but the giant intervenes, fighting the Grand Witch to protect her. At the same time, another witch begins killing the children, but Hansel quickly shoots her, saving them. Furious and alone after her allies are killed, the Grand Witch throws the giant off a cliff. She then turns her fury back on Gretel. As the remaining witches flee into the forest, they fall into Hansel's carefully laid trap. Trapped by the ambush, the witches are violently dismembered and killed. The Grand Witch tries to escape but is shot by the young boy, his aim striking true. Though the battle is brutal, Hansel, Gretel, and their allies manage to defeat the witches and end the Grand Witch's reign of terror. With a deafening boom, the fight reaches its pinnacle. Gretel comes across the giant, who was thrown off the cliff by the Grand Witch the previous day. To her amazement, the giant is fully healed and ready to assist her. At the same time, Hansel, Gretel, and their allies search for the Grand Witch to make her pay for all the evil she has caused. The Grand Witch then ambushes Hansel out of the blue and begins strangling the young boy standing near him. As the Grand Witch charges toward Hansel, the White Witch, standing close by, rushes to her and injures the Grand Witch. The Grand Witch tries to retaliate and lunges at the White Witch with a dagger. The White Witch is stabbed, critically injured, and collapses to the ground. Hansel spots a nearby gun and fires at the Grand Witch, causing her to fall back into the gingerbread house. Fatally injured, the White Witch uses her last strength to protect them before she dies. Gretel arrives, and together with Hansel, they launch a final attack on the Grand Witch. Hansel adheres to the plan and manages to bind her temporarily before beating her. However, the Grand Witch puts up a fight and escapes from them. Hansel and Gretel engage in a fierce struggle and finally decapitate the Grand Witch for good, ending her evil reign. Without the Grand Witch, the witches they know remain. They focus on finding witches to save others. Accompanying them are the young boy and the giant, joining them in their seemingly impossible mission to exterminate witches. The story ends with Hansel and Gretel setting out on their next quest, an unbreakable terror lying between them.